Hello, the name's Phil, Wobbly Phil. This week I'm on the trail of a very rare beast, Yamaha's XS1100 Martini. The Martini was released in very limited numbers in 1979. The same year we got to see a 52-year-old Roger Moore strut his wrinkly 007 stuff in Moonraker. Moonraker was made to cash in on Star Wars and received mixed reviews. Yamaha's Martini was made to cash in on the legendary Mike Hailwood's 14 TT wins. Were the reviews any better? I briefly touched on Yamaha's XS1100 in a previous video, the last of the Japanese Big Four to get in on the four-stroke inline four game. Yamaha was late to the party in 1977, almost 10 years after Honda pioneered what became known as the Universal Japanese Machine in 1967. Nonetheless, the XS1100 was a noble effort, with loads of straight-line grunt, shaft drive, the largest engine of any bike on sale at the time, 95 ponies, polyspheric combustion chambers and a top speed of 135 miles per hour. But I received Blofeld-like blowback in the comments for implying that the XS1100 didn't really like going around corners.
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Fortunately, you don't have to take my word for it. When the highly respected motorcycling journalist Graham Sanderson took it for a test ride in 1978, his verdict was, when cornering it would do its damnedest to remain upright. Much physical effort was needed to force it into turns. And when it finally condescended to corner, it was only with the inclusion of an awful side-to-side rocking, with a disconcerting front-end wiggle and a habit of meandering from side to side. Back in the day, Yamaha blamed this on the bikes being poorly prepped by the dealerships and not being adjusted to rather stringent parameters for the individual rider. Mr Sanderson was much more complimentary, however, in his review of the Martini. In his book of Superbike Road Tests, published in 1982, he waxes lyrical, hailing it as much better than the standard version of Yamaha's biggest machine to date, with surprisingly good manners. Gone was the rider versus machine cornering battle of before. Not only that, but the Martini got the full fairing treatment by motorcycle design legend John Mockett, who had styled Lord Hesketh's venture into bikes and went on to design Hinckley Triumph's Rocket 3, amongst others. It was purposely designed for the XS1100 and not one of those off-the-peg things that were commonplace at the time and were about as sexy as the clobber I used to buy from Man at C&A.
Man and C&A.
Come and C&A. See the things you're looking for.
Relaxed, uncramped and untroubled by wind, you could cruise the country roads and motorways comfortably in control. So calm was it behind the fairing that John Mockett claimed you could spark up a coffin nail at 100 miles per hour.
Anyhow, have a win, Phil.
And most folk did. The entire fiberglass Fandango was thoroughly tested in a wind tunnel, initially as an R&D exercise. What emerged from the end of that tunnel was, by Mr Mockett's own account, ugly, but it worked. That said, it did add about £43 to the already quite ponderous XS1100, which, along with the wind resistance, shaved a bit off the top speed. Overall, the Martini was deemed a worthwhile improvement, particularly for touring types who like to gobble up the miles, even though its 5-gallon tank would be empty in a couple of hours at highway speeds. When Mike Hailwood made his famous return to the TT in 1978 after an 11-year absence, He was mobbed by fans as he rode the Martini around the Isle of Man, stopping at strategic locations and basking in the publicity. Yamaha and Martini must have said cheers to that. If you're in the habit of besmirching your beard with a hastily glugged Martini, why not pop some 3 Phil's 2-stroke Smoke Beard Balm in your pocket? Just hit the link in the description and order some today. With the natural aromas of frankincense, sage and sandalwood, your other half will never know you've been sipping from that secret stash in the shed. You'd think that with only 60 or 70 brought to the UK market between 1979 and 1983, the magnificent Martini would be fetching eye-popping prices at auction. I couldn't find any for sale currently, but an example sold in 2007 for a surprisingly cheap £3,220. Nowadays, stock XS 1100s seem to be fetching anything from a few hundred solves to £6,000, depending very much on condition.
Try a taste of Martini.
As for Martini, well, as a confused teenager, I thought the stuff that tasted like cough medicine and came in the bottle with the distinctive label was what James Bond was ordering shaken not stirred. Of course, I did come from a rather shabby seaside town on the south coast of England, where Martini umbrellas lined the beachfront every summer. Later, I discovered what a Martini cocktail actually was, and, dear viewer, I'm pleased to say I haven't looked back since. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing to let YouTube know we're doing something right here at 3 Phil's. Thank you.